mass shootings across the country. Blaming guns is an easy and ineffective thing to do. The Wall Street Journal editorial board points this out. Firearm laws were few and weak before the 1970s, yet only in recent decades have young men entered schools and supermarkets for the purpose of killing the innocent. What's changed is the culture. The nuclear family is collapsing before our eyes. Church attendance is at an all-time low. Kids' brains are being warped by social media. And we forced our kids into lockdowns, isolating them from socializing with each other and pushing them deeper into video games and wicked internet sites. Sports aren't mandatory anymore. Drugs are everywhere. The media and entertainment industry fosters a sick thirst for fame and notoriety. And there's just a general lack of respect for human life. We're missing all the ingredients for a healthy country. If we want to stop the next mass shooter, we need to approach this completely differently. It's time to take preventing school shootings as seriously as we did stopping terrorism after thousands of Americans were killed on our soil by radical hijackers. In the New York Post today, Maureen Callahan writes this. After 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security began tracking online chatter to disrupt planned terror attacks, as did the FBI, which began proactively working up profiles of future terrorists. Why can't the same be done here? Most of these school shooters fit a profile. They're usually young males who come from a broken home and don't have a dad in their life. They're disconnected. They live online. They skip school, get into fights, do drugs, and worship villains. Many times they hurt animals and hurt themselves. These patterns are well documented, but the FBI seems to wait until after the shootings to look for red flags, and social media companies are too busy policing pronouns to flag clues leading to the next school shooter. And our politicians are too busy hating each other and fundraising while teenagers are on the fringe flirting with death. Jason Whitlock is the host of the Fearless podcast, who joins me now. So Jason, what do you think is the main factor in our culture that's triggering this kind of rise in mass shootings, especially at schools?
Cowardice, fear and cowardice. Our culture is controlled by fear and cowardice. Masculinity, traditional male values are under attack. It's not any mystery why young boys are confused, angry, confused about their identity, angry at the world. Their natural instincts have been under attack probably the last 50, 60 years, and most acutely in the last 15 to 20 years since we turned over our culture to the pansies in Northern California and their social media apps. They're imposing their view of the world, their standard for manhood on the rest of us, and we men have been cowards and have taken it. And so I look at that, your opening segment, and people are wondering why the police didn't do anything, didn't run in. They exist in a culture totally controlled by fear and cowardice. We haven't created a culture that supports men doing what comes natural to them, protecting women and children. That's what comes natural to us when we're allowed to be men. But this new culture we built is set up to totally annihilate, eliminate our natural instincts and make us think, the people in Northern California know better than God about what a man is and what a man should do. Men, boys under attack, they're acting out angrily, and we are too cowardly to do anything about it.
I'm wondering if you're right about the social media pansy element, because if you look at the timeline, you are seeing an increase in these mass shootings, especially the school shootings, right around the time and right after the time Facebook launched, Twitter launched, right in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, you see the rise in these mass shootings. Do you think that it's taken the male brain and just warped it and changed the brain chemistry so that they're just not doing the same sorts of activities that young men used to do? They're just kind of zoning out, looking at a screen.
Mental illness is running rampant in America. depression. Kids are committing suicide. Kids are overdosing on drugs. It's our smartphones. It's the big tech companies in Northern California trying to reprogram us from God's natural order. That's what they're doing. We're spending all of our time making sure there's a safe space for Leah Thomas to swim against girls in the Ivy League. We're social media obsessed with making sure that George Floyd hyped up on drugs. We better send a limo and 2 women to go give him a reach around and escort him to jail as politely as possible. I'm just sorry. This is a mistake. This is not what we should be focused on. We have to allow young boys to develop into grown men and understand their responsibility as grown men, as leaders. You look at that police force, and again, I feel somewhat sympathetic for them, but our culture is so hostile towards policing. We've run our natural leaders out of leadership positions across corporate America, throughout law enforcement. Our culture has dramatically changed. Jesse, I looked 20 years ago, 21 years ago, a bunch of men mostly ran up into the World Trade Center towers knowing very likely they're gonna die. If that happened today, I don't think men would stand up and do what those brave men did on 9/11. Our culture has changed so much. They sit down and sit out and contemplate for several hours, and most of them would check out and not do a darn thing.
Yeah. And you know what? When you
it's
don't,
hard for me to keep my composure.
when the father's not there, you know, you used to go out, you used to go hiking, you used to go hunting, you used to play sports, used to hang out with other guys, other dads. There's not a lot of that going on as much as it used to, and I think that does play a huge role in this. Jason Whitlock, thanks so much for joining us.